You're in a good place now. Relax, breathe, smile. You've entered into your element, the home of origin, the home of intelligence and beauty, where relevant topics are discussed, where what you think counts, and where superior is the norm. You are listening to Perspectives with Ashley Burgess.
Uh-oh, guess what day it is? Guess what day it is? Huh? Anybody? Julie, hey, guess what day it is? Oh, come on, I know you can hear me. Mike. What day is it, Mike? Leslie, guess what today is?
It's hump day.
Woo-woo!
Hey, welcome here live to Perspectives, and I'm your host, me, Ashley Burgess.
Woot woot!
In the house, whoop whoop! Who doesn't like that cool camel? You know, really, let's talk about getting over the proverbial hump in our lives, you know? I think that's kind of funny, the proverbial hump. But, you know, overwhelmingly, some things seem impossible. You know, this hump, and I think you and I have both experienced it, Bill, this hump comes in many shapes and sizes, right? And it shows up at the oddest times and really causes chaos, right?
It absolutely does.
I'm in a glass case of emotion!
It disrupts our innate ability to focus and really make sense of things. You know, we usually have a good handle on things. I usually think that I have a great handle on things, but when this appears, these humps, we can't see the forest of the trees. We allow everything to get us down, and it also scares us. It scares us away from maybe what our potential is. So on tonight's live episode of Perspectives, we're exploring and discussing the roadblocks we put in our own lives. The roadblocks we've been given as well, and how there's that particular roadblock, that road hump that overwhelmingly forces you to question everything, you know, honestly. Tonight we're exploring and dissecting self-applied and outside-applied roadblocks and how you can get past them without losing your mind. Billy, how you doing tonight?
You know, I'm actually kind of tired, but I'm doing okay because I filled in for Dano last night on his night shift last night. So,
on the night shift?
Yeah, I did. You know, and I gave him a break so he could go out, you know, with the wife and actually like have time for himself.
God bless you.
But you know what? I'm good because it's Perspectives with Ashley Burgess, and we've got like a whole studio full of people today. What's up with this?
We do, because you know what we're talking about tonight? We're talking about something that's really essential. We're talking about, are you really good enough? You know, I think that's a question that a lot of us ask. Do you have what it takes? Are you ready to make the big step? You know, for some of us, the step could really mean moving out of the state, moving out of the country to get a better job. You know, taking that leap and tying the knot, finally. Buying that much-needed equipment that we need sometimes to do our job better. Or just putting ourselves on the proverbial line. You know, when it comes to your abilities, your talents, your career, your love, or anything that means a great deal to you. You know, you have our proverbial hump, the thing that's overwhelming to deal with because it makes us accept our future self. You know, the next logical step, and it's simultaneously we must actually believe in ourselves, right? Or also move forward. You know, the accumulation of all these things can cause a panic attack. You know, it really does, because this hump, this road hump, the thing that puts, you know, it kind of just makes us, you know, freak out. It makes you scared. You know, you got to go head first. You can't wait on the side of the pool and just watch everybody else swim around. You actually have to dive in. You got to jump in. And, you know, the water's too cold statement, that really ceases to exist when you're forced to jump in anyway. And I know that a lot of people always sit there and say, you know, sometimes you can sit by the sidelines, but you really can't. You know, I'm not ready. That comment's gone. You know, you have to replace it with, you know what? It's now or never. Remember that? It's now or never. And you know what? For the big believers, the big dreamers, you know who you are out there. You're listening. For you, it's a risk all, take no prisoners attitude. You got to do it. You go for it your entire life wondering what could have been otherwise, you know? Could I've actually pulled it off? Could I've done it? If you try, you never know. You just never know if you never try. You know, you live your life in sadness, maybe even desperate denial. And it eats you up inside and kicks your butt, honestly. You know, life is too short and scary to do all this. But the opposite, actually putting it out there, putting it all on the line. Wow. It's overwhelming and scary too, so what do? I don't know. There's a lot of things to really think about. You know, I think we've all been in that position. Don't you?
Oh, yeah. I mean, of course, you know my situation when I first moved here to Dallas. I guess, gosh, it's 3.5 years. Where did the time go?
Wow.
3.5 years ago. And, you know, come from a small town in West Texas. And that was a big decision for me because I have no family here. Career change. just kind of jumping in, and not really checking the pool for water. So,
well, sometimes you don't have a chance to check. Sometimes you don't have a time to put your toe in the water and go, I don't know, it seems a little cold.
It's a little cold, maybe I should wait, and yeah.
Where's my mommy? Where's my blanket? Sometimes you have to just jump in. So tonight I thought some of the best people to discuss this concept of dealing with road humps is dealing with roadblocks, some that we've actually self-imposed ourselves, others that society puts in, and others that we make too big of a deal about. Hamilton Snee. Hamilton joins us tonight here live in the studio. Hi, Hamilton. How you doing?
I'm good, Ashley. How are you?
I'm doing excellent now that you're here.
Thank you for having me.
Well, God bless you. How you doing?
I'm great.
So we're going to talk about later on here, coming up in the next segment, we're going to talk about these road humps, these problems that we've all dealt with in our life and how we've overcome them. So have you dealt with some of these in your life?
I have, and I'm looking forward to sharing them with you tonight.
Okay, well, perfect, because that's why you're on. And awesome. And also Hamilton's a good friend, too, by the way. And he's a nice guy, and he's a sharp dresser.
I try a little bit, just a little.
I don't even think he tries.
Oh.
Did you hear what I'm saying, Bobo?
Also joining us tonight is Tony A. Tony Artabon actually has a show right before me, and we know a little bit about him. Let's talk. Hey, so you know a little bit about roadblocks, road humps, things that we've self-imposed.
I do. Thanks for having me on, by the way. I'm a huge fan of the show. I've wanted to come on for quite some time, and I've got some perspective on roadblocks, so we can talk about that later.
God bless. That's what we all want to talk about. We want to talk about these things, these catastrophes, these situations. Because a lot of times at the time, it seems like a major catastrophe. I mean, it can be overwhelming. And some of these road humps that we have, like you got to jump the hump. Sometimes these roadblocks you have they seem almost insurmountable because of the emotional impact that we've placed on the situation. Joining us as well, but not really talking that much, is Kimberly Alexander. Kimberly is here in studio, and she waves and says hello. And she might speak here later on and talk to us about some stuff, but she is really lighting up the studio. She makes the place look better.
I'm telling you what, especially between myself and Tony and Hamilton,
yeah, absolutely.
Good thing this is radio because the TV cameras would be like on you two ladies.
Well, I hope so.
Well,
God bless us all.
I've got a face for radio, Bill.
Yeah, and I think that list is long and distinguished right there.
Well, we might get Kimberly to be on the air here at some point in time to talk with us. So let's really think about tonight. So tonight's show, okay, when we return, Perspectives will be exploring life's roadblocks. The roadblocks we put in our own way, because I know everybody listening does it. You have to admit you do it. You do it all the time. You put roadblocks in your own way. And we also have those other roadblocks that others create for us. That could be outside, that could be family, that could be job, that could be all kinds of stuff. A major roadblock usually appears every, I would say, average of 5 years. And this hump, if not dealt with properly, will hold you back. Instead of moving forward on life's highway, you understand. You stay stagnant on the other side of the hump. You then turn around, right? And you return back to where you came from, wondering. Sadly, this is how dreams die. But more so, this hump is where the pedal hits the metal and all comes to pass. Your hump can feel like the size of Mount Everest, and you'll feel alone on your journey. But you know what? It doesn't have to be that way. You can understand it. You can figure it out. You can comprehend it. But you can also change it, and you can jump the hump. So stay tuned, because I, Ashley Burgess, will be giving you the tips to overcoming your life humps and what your life humps actually truly mean to the big picture and to your life. So stay tuned, because Perspectives with Ashley Burgess will be back in 2 shakes.
Turn it up and jump in the deep end on Perspectives with Ashley Burgess. The water's warm and there's a swim-up bar. Glass of perspective, anyone? Now, here's Ashley.
Okay, so let's throw it to our sideline reporter.
Uh-oh, guess what day it is? Guess what day it is?
Oh, no.
Game day? Yeah!
Woot woot!
Whoop, whoop. Welcome back here to Perspectives Live with your host, me, Ashley Burgess. Wow, I do like those commercials. And we're not going to talk exactly about whose commercial it is, but I think you can figure that out. But yeah, there's something to be said about hump day, and we're going to be talking about jumping the hump tonight. And we're not talking about the camel and those funny commercials. We're talking about getting over road humps that we create in our life from roadblocks that we either create or other people create for us. Life is really difficult enough, right? We've always heard that when people say, life is difficult enough, but it's really even worse when we devise these roadblocks for ourselves, right? Think about it. The stress of success and finding our true calling, if that's not enough for you, it's like if you can't find it, that's not enough for you. We got to put all these like problems in the mix.
Yeah, it's like we don't need other people to put roadblocks in front of us. We're good at doing that ourselves. Holler at me, fellas. I mean, am I right?
You really want to yell at you, Bill?
Well,
can we start yelling at you, Bill?
We need a drum roll.
You were my roadblock today.
Was I the roadblock?
We got through it though.
I think it's funny. I know all of us have heard that word self-sabotage. And I think that some people always call it the concept of self-sabotage. But if you think about it, that name kind of denotes the fact that you know that you're doing it to yourself. And I don't think that's true, because I think a lot of times we throw these roadblocks up because it's like some sort of subconscious behavior, as well as there's some sort of fear or lack that we have that's kind of deep down inside. We don't even realize it, because self-sabotage sounds like I meant to do this and I'm going to sabotage myself, right? Because doggone it, if they don't get in my way, I will. No, it's not really that way. I mean, it kind of sounds all great and highfalutin, but at the same time, it doesn't make any sense.
Sometimes from the outside, it can seem that way. You know those type of people. It's like they're almost intentionally screwing up their lives or whatever.
I think we all been there.
But they're not really intentionally doing it. It's just things happen.
Well, you're right. I don't think we always have a clue that we're doing it, but I think sometimes you have to figure out that you're fighting yourself. You're in the ring and you're fighting yourself, and you feel like you're so busy because you're fighting everybody else and you're doing it on your own. You're being solo fighter. But, when you're fighting one person, so think about it, even if you're at a bar, and I am not condoning fighting right now at all. But let's just say you're at a bar and there's a fight and you start fighting somebody's hitting you, you're hitting them. If you're fighting two other people, it's a problem. Okay, because you got to fight those two people and the person. Now, let's think about in life. If you're fighting yourself all the time, but then trying to fight the world, that's hard. That's hard, because if you're constantly, as we say in this world, self-sabotaging yourself or putting roadblocks up, which I'd like to say, you're actually fighting yourself. You're punching yourself every single time you get a chance, even when other people are taking a punch on you as well. And that can be really overwhelming. So let's begin our perspectives talk. Let's begin the exploration. So, what type of roadblocks do we really put up for ourselves, I think roadblocks come in various shapes, sizes, and formats, and we create them to what? We do it to control ourselves. We do it to protect ourselves from getting hurt. We create them in our childhood a lot of times, and we don't even know they exist, because a lot of times they're created out of fear. And fear is a really weird thing, because fear is shown in so many different ways, and it hides and masks itself under different emotions. But we're not going to go that deep into the emotional component tonight. We're just going to talk about how to get over roadblocks. So when we create them, we undermine ourselves, right? And we can become our worst enemy. And the roadblocks can be, let's say we never want to get married, or we don't feel like we're able to get married. We don't want to risk moving out of town or giving our career a chance because we don't really feel like we could ever do anything. We're scared to financially invest in ourselves because what if we screw up and lose all the money and we don't become successful, and then we lost all this money, we don't have anything, and everybody looks at us like a screw up? And, come on, that's what happens in your head, and you start just building it up, and it gets overwhelming. Okay, so Hamilton. Yes. Hamilton, how are you doing this evening?
I'm great.
I'm still good. You're still good,
I'm
right?
still good. I'm still here.
So let's talk about this. A lot of people say that, okay, we've all done these roadblock things. I have the T-shirt. Well, we're not talking about the T-shirt. We're talking about the sweatshirt and pant combination, because this is perspectives. We don't just have a T-shirt. We have an ensemble. Okay, have you dealt with the fact that have you ever had roadblocks in your life?
Oh, absolutely. I think we all do. They're there. We create them, like you said earlier, out of fear. But yes, I've had them.
And so you have them, and you know how it can be to have them. You actually know how it can be to not even know that you have them, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, I had a client recently that wouldn't even buy a car. Okay, now this is crazy. This all puts things in perspective for people, because when you take an extreme component and you throw it into life, people think it's interesting. So they would not buy a car. They took public transportation because they figured, right, if they bought the car, they would lose their job. And then they'd have a car with no money, okay? So 20 years later, this person's still taking the bus, but they've missed so many opportunities because of not having a vehicle, okay, that they have to only stay on the bus route all the time.
That's a huge road hump.
Yeah, so you're talking about this decision was made 20 years ago. This is not recently.
No, this is not recent, no.
Wow. And they're still on the bus?
Yeah, well, they're
in this city?
Yeah, they're actually buying a car.
That's a whole other conversation.
They actually are buying a car, though, like in the next couple of weeks. But you know how many things they've missed out on? I mean, I can't go into anything more about this client, but they are very talented, and they've missed out on so many things because they were isolating themselves, but the fact that they didn't want to have to look at their family and say, well, I can't afford the car payment. It's like, dude, I can't even get it. I mean, I understand because I've done something kind of similar, but it's not like that level. But God bless this person. But the point is that that's an extreme decision that somebody made because they were too scared of putting anything behind their success, being that they didn't even believe that they could actually pay a car payment because something like the other shoe's going to fall.
It's like a hex.
Yeah.
They put hex on themselves. Like Hamilton, I mean, don't you think that's kind of willingly putting yourself in a box?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And let alone in this city not to have a car. That's a whole nother situation. But yeah, I mean, you're
nobody walks in LA. Oh wait, this is Dallas. Okay, yeah, but it's the same thing. Okay, yeah, you're right. Not many people walk around here. It's very hard. So Tony, what are some of the roadblocks you've encountered some recently? What was the last one that you remember that maybe you put up for yourself?
Well, I was thinking while you were talking, one of the things that's led me to the path that I'm on now. When I was 19 years old, I decided to go into the U.S. Army after high school. And I was a world champion powerlifter. I was state champion, world champion, and I had set numerous records. But the Army said, look, you had knee surgery, and we're not going to let you go airborne. I wanted to be a paratrooper. Worse than anything, I wanted to be a U.S. Army paratrooper. So I tried and I tried and I tried, but it was denied every time. And one of the things that I did was I was told, look, just go in the Army, see what happens, try out for it. Maybe you can get it. They'll overlook the medical condition of your knee surgery. And after so much trial and error, I was selected. I got to go to Fort Benning. It took weeks and weeks, but I finally got a doctor to sign off on this old doctor. That he took a look at my history and he said, look, I'm going to give you a shot. And I tell you what, that decision of sticking with it, deciding that no matter what, I'm going to get my airborne wings, has made all the difference in my life and where I'm at today. Now, I mean, the people that I met, my friends, I was able to serve with one of the first Army units on the ground in Afghanistan after 9/11 in Iraq, and then the woman I'm about to marry next week is a friend of mine from the Army that I met from that unit that I got put into because I earned my airborne wings. So everything hinged on that moment for my adulthood, and I'm glad that I stuck with it.
That's amazing. That's awesome. And congratulations, by the way.
Congratulations.
Wow.
I'm already wearing my ring.
I was going to say, yeah, he's rocking the ring already. Yeah.
I've known her for 14 years, and she's a veteran also. And it just, it finally, after so much time of not being hitched, I decided to get married. Fortune favors the brave, right? Alexander the Great. And so it's one of the things that I've tried to do in my life. Whenever there's a roadblock thrown at me, I want to try to give as much action to make a decision, go forward, see what happens. And what's the saying? And I'm sure you're more familiar with it than I am. Is ready, fire, aim.
Yeah,
just go at it.
Well, but
ready, aim, fire. Right?
Yeah. Well, it's supposed to be ready, aim, fire.
It's supposed to be ready, aim, fire.
What about just fire?
Well, there you go, and then you don't even worry about the direction. But
I was about to say, what about the aim?
Guns a-blazing all around. Who knows? Harry Carey, dogs and cats living together, human sacrifice. No. So I agree with you. I think this is an awesome story. We're going to talk more about that because this has a lot of stuff to talk about. This is opening up some really great.
And that's the Cliff Notes version. Sorry.
Well, we're going to get back into it. We're going to go past the Cliff Notes version. Oh my. So I have some stuff to talk about myself, and I know that normally I don't bring up my own perspective sometimes. And during these shows, I don't know. Maybe I feel like I'm putting myself too much on the line. I don't know.
It is Ashley Perspectives with Ashley Burgess.
It's all about me, just my perspective, nothing else. No, I'm just kidding. No, honestly, I've lamented for years, on getting my own office, and so tonight we're going to talk about that. I've officed with friends, relatives, coworkers. I was too scared to get my own, and I know this sounds kind of crazy to some people. Scared. I was just scared because I didn't really think about it. I always had these dreams and these aspirations to have my own office, but I just figured, I'll stick with other people, no big deal. And so we're going to talk about that later on in the hour because it has something to do with, jumping the hump, because it can be something, it can kind of seem small. And for some people listening right now go, an office? You were debating about getting an office? What's wrong with you? I mean, your client can't even figure out how to get a car. I mean, what are your problems? But the thing is that the car situation actually is about something way bigger than the car. The office is way bigger than the office, okay? And that's what we're going to be talking about tonight, because sometimes these things get blown way out of proportion. You know, it's really hard enough. Life is hard enough with such low expectations of ourselves sometimes. You know, what about the person who says they aren't a good salesperson or they can't sell their own stuff? You know, we have to like sit there and look at this concept. It's a belief system that we've created, a belief system that's not correct. It makes you scared. It makes you unable to do things. You know, if you keep telling yourself that you can't, guess what? You can't. You know, I've done that. You've done that. Many of us are doing the exact thing at this exact moment and have been doing it your entire life. You know it. I know it. So don't try to act like you don't. You know, when we come back, Perspectives will be exploring the societal imposed roadblocks as well as our personal roadblocks that we create. And stick around, because I'll be giving you the timeless tips to overcome both types of roadblocks and how to really begin understanding where your self-imposed roadblocks are coming from, and metaphorically speaking. They're not just coming out of the wind or anything. We're talking about it metaphorically speaking. And you deserve to know how to overcome these situations as well, and how to begin to pick up on why you do this in the beginning. Why do you do this in the first place? What is it about you, the human condition, that makes you kind of, you know, mess up your own life, you know? So we'll talk about that later. So stay tuned, because guess what? Perspectives with me, your host, Ashley Burgess, will be back in 2 shakes.
Get in here. Give us your perspective. We're listening. And you're listening to Perspectives with Ashley Burgess.
And guess what day it is? Julie. And Julie. And guess what day it is? Guess what day it is? Guess what day it is? Anybody? Anybody? Guess what day it is? Guess what day it is? Anybody? Anybody? Mike. What day is it, Mike? Woo-hoo! Mike. What day is it, Mike? Oh, come on. I know you can hear me. Listen, guess what today is?
Hey, welcome here live on Perspectives, and I'm your host, Ashley Burgess. And, you know, tonight we've been exploring and discussing roadblocks, you know, the ones we put in our own lives and the roadblocks that we've been given. And, you know, how there's that one roadblock, I'm calling it the hump, that both overwhelms you and really forces you to question everything in your life at that exact time. You know, we're dissecting self-applied versus the outside applied roadblocks and how to get past them without losing your mind. Because sometimes it can happen. You know, because it can be overwhelming. And a lot of times when all those concepts and ideas are in your head and it's like a circle and a swirl of concepts and ideas, you're overwhelmed, because it can be an emotional, overwhelming situation as well. So, this road hump usually feels bigger, unmanageable, because it's really the culmination of several things coming together, you know, not just one particular thing. You know, I mean, it's a big deal. And it's a big deal in each individual person's lives. To the outside world, a lot of times these things can seem ultra small. Okay? So let's go back to what I was talking about earlier. We're talking about the whole concept of, if, you know, a client that couldn't get their own car because they didn't want to buy a car because they didn't want something to happen to their job, and they don't have the job, they can't pay for the car. So there's like a whole, slippery slope. I know the debaters listening love that. A slippery slope of issues right there, right? I mean, with me, with this office space, I've had offices, okay? I've had offices. I've officed with friends, coworkers. I've even officed with my husband. I've officed with anybody that'll take me in an office, okay? Because I'm not going to have my own office. I don't need my own office, okay?
You've officed with the brooms and the mops. You know?
I have. Well, we won't go into that one yet. But yeah, I did. Yeah, that broom closet that time. Yeah, and I made it into a nice home, a nice, safe little bastion for work.
I'm funny how? I mean, funny like I'm a clown. I amuse you. I make you laugh. What do you mean funny? Funny how? How am I funny?
That's what I'm asking you. So let's talk about this. Okay, let's start with Hamilton. You're in my line of sight right now. Okay, yeah. So God bless you. Okay, so what's a road hump that you're experiencing at this exact time?
A road hump I'm experiencing at this exact time. Well, okay, so I'm an event planner. I own my own event company. But I think one of the biggest road humps I've been experiencing the last probably 6 months to maybe a year is how to really grow my business and not being afraid to ask for it and to go after what I want. And I mean, there's so many things with that. That's, doing more events in Dallas-Fort Worth, doing more events outside of the city, but really kind of saying, okay, this is what I want. This is what I've got to go after. These are the things that I need to do to set myself up for that. And that is a hard thing to do. And also, I work for myself, but I don't like giving over control to others. There's so many road humps.
I'm not
the
gonna
more and more I start thinking about it.
I'm not going to psychoanalyze you at this time. Exactly.
No, don't.
But
we haven't got that much time.
We don't.
when we acquire that third hour, we'll have some more time. We'll bring Hamilton back on. It's going to be a very interesting experience. It's like the Twilight Zone.
Oh,
no, honestly, okay, so let's piecemeal this together. So a lot of people that are listening go, well, why is it so hard to grow your business? I don't understand.
It was a hard thing to start it.
It's a hard thing to start your own business because when you're working for other people, there's a kind of a safe zone. And there's also not the zone of, oh, it's all on me, or I'm able to actually run my own business. That's a big deal. I'm going to jump to this. I'm going to do this. But on top of that, don't you feel like you stand in the way a lot of times of your own success because maybe it's because you don't really believe sometimes in yourself even though you should?
Yes.
Because you think, oh, those people, look at that production company. Look what they're doing. Man, look at that party. Oh, I wish I could do something like that.
Exactly.
When you're not even trying, really.
Nope.
Because we get in our own way.
We get in our way.
Are you saying that we think the grass is greener?
Oh, well, that's always. That's
gotcha.
Oh, okay. So Bill and I've worked on a project for a while, and we're going to come back out with this soon. But the grass is always greener, and that's really kind of the concept behind everything in life, right? So when you really think about every issue we really have, with especially personal issues, we always look at other people's lives and think, man, their life is so much better than mine. Look at that smug smile on their face. Look how great their life must be. And you look at that and you go, oh, well, everything's always greener over there. But you know what? Yeah, the grass might not even be there. It could be concrete spray painted with that green color. Green number 107.
AstroTurf.
Yeah, AstroTurf color. AstroTurf. You get it over there at the Home Depot, you know? And it's toxic. And if you breathe too much of it, you'll kind of lose some brain cells. So let's talk here, Tony A. So tell me, what are some what is it like a roadblock that road hump you're experiencing right now?
Well, much like you, I was seeking some office space, but through an elected office, and I lost. And of course, I ran 14 months, so that can be spiritually taxing, emotionally taxing, financially taxing. And Bill, has helped me along the way, and knows a little bit about that.
Yeah.
But, finishing out the election and being where I am now, I'm having to decide. It's kind of an existential crisis. What do I do now? And where do I put my heart and soul? And it's hard to run something that long, and then you're left with this anticlimactic end. And then where do you go? And I think that's a little bit of a roadblock that I'm facing right now, and a road hump is finding that drive and that spirit, finding out what's gonna pick me up and get me going again after this last 14 months.
I understand that, because a lot of times when you put so much effort and work into something, especially a timed experience like an election, there's a lot of different options we can fill in the blank. It can be so overwhelming because it can be such a letdown. And a lot of times we have to kind of look at the fact that not everybody wins the first election around. I mean, some people don't even win. Some people don't even pass the LSAT. Some people don't even pass a test. Some people can't even pass their driver's test the first time around, okay? Sometimes you got to do it again. But when it's like this long amount of time that you kind of derive from day 1 to day 365 to day 410, you can be overwhelmed because, like, what did I do for the last year except for I lost? And then you have to sit there and define yourself. I'm not a loser. I happen to not win this particular situation, but the rest of my life is not a loss. Now I have to sit there and figure out, am I ready now to try this again? Do I want to wait it out? Do I want to prepare? Do I believe in the process enough that I want to do it again? I mean, because there's all these crucial moments that you sit there and think, man, I have this, I'm good for this. And in your particular situation, I would have liked to have seen you win.
Well, I appreciate that.
Amen to that.
Yeah, and I think most people did. And that's the key. It's just, I feel that way. So you kind of got to pick up and say either I'm going to go this road or I'm not. I think also, though, sometimes when you're dealing with these roadblocks, and especially the ones that we've also created, what about the outside influence we're dealing with, too? Because sometimes that can also impede and also, cloud situations in our life. So what are some of the outside, maybe, roadblocks that you're dealing with, Hamilton, that's not created by yourself, but maybe created by society or other people or situations?
Outside roadblocks. Well, I think the biggest ones, that are more prevalent now are what you're seeing on social media. So you're looking at what other people are doing and you're comparing yourself. So we talked about the grass being greener on the other side. So I think that's a huge roadblock no matter what you're doing, personal, professional. There's so many different things going on Twitter and Facebook and Instagram and all these different online mediums, and it's instant, it's right then and there, and you're not given any choice but to think back on what you could be doing different, what should be going on, and that's a major outside influence on me and many other people, I think.
I like that because I also think that a big concept, I think this is what you're saying also as well, is that competition.
Yes.
There's a lot of competition. And the kind of the sad thing, and I want to bring this up too, is that society has deemed the fact that there's not enough to go around on everything. There's not enough food, there's not enough money, there's not enough this, not enough that, there's not enough fame, there's not enough this, not enough that. If they have this, I can't have that. So in your position, you have people that are sitting there saying, well, if he takes that, I don't have it.
Right.
And vice versa. And sometimes that's a problem, as well as the competition and the grass is greener thing. Because that's a big deal, because even our own projection of ourselves. Tony, what do you have to add on that?
Well, what Hamilton was saying, he's a trendsetter. He's out there. He's got his own business. You're facing the world. You're getting a lot of opinions are coming your way. And I saw this great quote the other day on Facebook. It was on a military page, and it said, wolves don't lose sleep over the opinions of sheep. And I thought, oh, perfect. Because if you're brave enough to put yourself out there and you're brave enough to be a trendsetter and do the things you're doing, you got to have that self-confidence and that you got to protect yourself and put a fortress around your heart and just know that, look, the majority of folks are going to look at you and say, oh, he's doing this wrong, or I would have done that better, or comparing you to other things. But you're out there, you're the one that's in the arena and deserve the credit. And I just, that anybody that's out there doing anything that's productive or setting themselves apart, that they deserve a round of applause.
Yeah, pat on the back there. Yeah,
I agree with you. And the wolf's not losing sleep. What about the lion? The lion doesn't lose sleep either. Mm-mm. The lion doesn't lose sleep. Because he's like, I can eat you. I don't know.
The lion sleeps tonight.
The lion sleeps tonight in the jungle, the mighty Okay, you got me on a tangent here. Okay, so before we finish this segment real quick, I want to ask one other question, and I know we have some quick thoughts because I don't want you to put too much thought into it. Were there any risks that you didn't take that you really wish you had earlier in your life, Hamilton?
Ooh.
Da na 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 na.
That's a hard one. Thanks so much for that. I think I lived in London for a while, and I should have fought a little bit more to actually stay and, try to figure out how I could make that work. I think it was a big risk for me to move. I worked there for 2.5 years. And then things didn't happen. And so, I should have taken a little bit bigger risk and said, okay, what can I do more to make this a reality, or figure out how I could stay in Europe, period, even though London was the city I wanted to live in.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Tony A., before we go to break, is there any risk that you didn't take that you wish you had every day?
Absolutely. And I think when I got home from the military in 2004, I put timelines on myself. I said, well, I'm only 24 years old. There's certain things I need to do before I can go do these other things. And I put limits on myself. I wish I could go back and talk to myself and say, shouldn't have done that. Go forward. Don't put any time constraints on yourself, and don't listen to what society says.
Oh, that's awesome. That's well said. Okay, so stay tuned because I, Ashley Burgess, will be offering you the tips for overcoming your life humps and what your road humps really truly mean to the big picture of your life. You don't want to lose your mind, so don't worry about it. You won't be. Don't lose your mind. Instead, be aware, understand, and jump the hump. When we return with Perspectives with Ashley Burgess, and guess what? Yeah, I'll be back in 2 shakes.
I can lift you up. I can show you what you want to see and take you where you want to be.
This is Jake Busey, and you're listening to Perspectives with Ashley Burgess on 660 The Answer.
Guess what today is?
It's hump day.
Hump day!
It's hump day.
Hump day! Uh-oh. Mike. What day is it, Mike? Uh-oh. Mike. What day is it, Mike?
It's hump day.
Hump day!
It's hump day.
Hump day!
If only our listeners could see what was happening here in the studio.
Wow.
And maybe it's a good thing that this is radio.
Bill, you can move. I'm telling you that. Welcome back here live on Perspectives with me, your host, Ashley Burgess, and I'm letting you know, Bill has got the moves. He's got the moves. He was doing a dance in there. And I was not fast enough to get it on camera.
And Tony A was looking the other way.
On purpose, Bill.
I don't blame you, brother.
He was crying, I think. So welcome back to Perspectives here with me, Ashley Burgess. We have Hamilton Sneed joining us. We have Tony Arterburn. We call him Tony A for tonight. You got Bill, as well as Kimberly Alexander is actually making this place look even better and adding to the awesome vibe. Danos is here in spirit. You know, we've explored the concept of really self-imposed roadblocks, of societal roadblocks as well. We've dissected the concept of the road hump. You know, the road hump is something we make larger than life because of the culmination of our work and our duties that have come to pass to get to this certain peak level. You know, a couple days ago, I was telling y'all about the concept I had with trying to get my own office and how it was so overwhelming. And it's just an office, I get it. But it's not just an office, you know, because I realized that I even was waiting on other people because it was all in my mind. Like, I felt like I had to have an office with other people. I couldn't have my own office. This was never going to work. Well, you know what? Once I realized that I had to abandon all these preconceived notions and all these judgments that I had made, that was when I finally found my office. I mean, I even have a good friend of mine. He's also a radio personality. He's also on TV quite a bit, too. We were talking about getting an office together for a while, and it just didn't work. We were both trying to make something happen that wasn't going to happen. And, I mean, I still love him. We're still friends, but it just wasn't meant to be. Okay, so I got my own place, and I overcame this big road hump in my life because I realized I'm good enough to have my own place, okay? Straight up. Okay, that's really what it is, right? Second thing is I don't need anybody else. I'm okay. I don't need somebody to hold my hand. You know,
kind of a big deal.
I don't need somebody to hold my hand. I'm pretty good at this kind of thing, you know? So let's talk. I told you I was going to give you these tips. I told you I was going to give you the ways and the means, and I wasn't going to give it to you. You actually have to take it. I'm going to offer it to you. How about that? Okay, I'm going to offer you these tips on removing these roadblocks, but more importantly, how to identify them. So let's talk about this. Number 1. Okay, here we go. Identify what's holding you back. Are you holding yourself back, or is another person or an outside force putting the hump in your way? Okay, this is really important because if you don't know where it's coming from, you can't make the next proper and appropriate action. Okay, so if you don't know where the roadblock or the road hump is coming from, you can't begin to jump the hump, right? So you have to figure out, is it you holding yourself back? Is it other people putting down rules and regulations for you that you have to adhere to? Okay, or are you just going along with the crowd? You've got to figure out where it's coming from, because if it's coming from you, you can deal with it and attack it one way. If it's coming from other people, you have to deal with it a different way. Okay, number 2, if you're experiencing stress, okay, stress. This is going to be like one of those, ads for like some sort of random medication on TV. If you're experiencing, dry sweat and heaves. No, if you're experiencing stress and you're confused, okay, on your next life move, on your next move here in life. I'm not talking about just like moving. I'm talking about your next move, metaphorically speaking. You're in a holding pattern. So if you can't figure out what to do next, you're in a holding pattern. Do you get that? I mean, I think it's pretty self-explanatory. Number 3, if you're avoiding your future and putting yourself on the back burner, you've created your own road hump. Okay, let me say that again because I think it might have just gone over some people's heads or under people's feet. I don't know. If you're avoiding your future and putting yourself on the back burner, you've created your own road hump, i.e., Ashley, you're not going to find your own office. You got to wait on everybody else to find an office with you, and that only has been what? I've only been waiting. I've been in offices, but in the same time I've been looking with other people, so I've only been also looking at the same time for 3.5 years. I mean, come on, guys. I mean, I got to get over that. I mean, we've all had those situations, right, Hamilton?
Yep. Exactly.
Where it's like, it's inconceivable the kind of time that we've just wasted. I mean, we'd never dare waste this kind of time on anything else. But we don't see it as a waste of the time. Oh, well, this is the only way we can do this. This is the rules I have to follow. Because, and you don't even think about the fact that you created these crazy rules. Tony, you know what I'm talking about. I mean, we've all been there before. We've been in a holding pattern where we feel like we can't, get to the next level, but we realize that we've holding ourselves back.
Absolutely.
We've created these like crazy attachments, like holding us in, and there's nothing we can do about it. And I think that's a big deal. Number 4, and I didn't stutter. Number 4, is everything and everyone more important than your future? Okay?
Wait a minute. Say that again.
Is everything and everybody more important than your own future?
So, in other words, you can't just consider everyone else's opinions and feelings to the point where you're holding yourself back.
That's actually something I never even thought about. That's great. Yeah,
Okay.
That's a really good concept. But I'm saying also, we usually don't consciously think that we're less than. We usually don't think that, everybody's better than us. But, unconsciously and subconsciously, we do feel inferior, okay? And the reason why I know that is because of the things that people do.
Okay, I see what you're getting at now. Yeah.
Okay, so we are inferior, and the reason why I see a lot of people feel that way, 90-something% of the human race, is because of what they do. Not what they say, but how they act in their life. I'm not going to buy a car because I'll lose my job. I'm not going to get my own office because I'm not worthy. I don't know if I should run again. I don't know. There's a lot of things. You know what I'm talking about, Tony. And It goes to your head, but you know how many people haven't won the first time?
There's a lot. Most people.
But nobody really talks about that. You know what I'm saying? And it's like you have to actually look at the reality of a situation before you can actually make judgments on yourselves, because a lot of times the judgments we make on ourselves, it's just not even feasible. It's not even normal.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? You can't sit there and say, oh, well, Superman could do it. Well, gosh, I just can't believe I can't figure it out.
Yeah, you didn't set the bar too high on that.
Man, I'm just dumb, and I can't do it. No, it's not like that. You don't have to compete against Superman, but at the same time, you have to sit there and say, okay, well, I can get back in the race. I'll try it again. Let's try it out, and I think that's really important. The last thing, number 5. Very important, number 5.
Here we go.
Number 5, bucket number 5. The next time something seems overwhelming, right? And it's not a huge undertaking, remember my office example, realize you're dealing with more factors than the obvious is presenting. Once you realize that other factors are existing on the situation, you can then begin to peel back the factors and fix the situation from the inside out. So you got to see this like road hump as an onion, and you got to peel back the layers to figure out, where am I like messing myself up? What is outside issues about? Am I looking at the grass is greener concept? Is there a competition? Is there a scarcity issue? Am I just not believing in myself? Okay? That's about it. So, okay, lastly, I want everybody to say something. So, Hamilton.
Yes.
Or Tony, whoever wants to speak first. I want y'all to leave our audience with one lasting thought about this. Something that a positive thought that you think is important for our listeners to hear.
Okay, so I'll go first. I think a positive thought is to...
On this subject matter.
On this subject matter, obviously. Not just some random positive thought, but... get out of your own way and believe in yourself. You've got to do that. There's no reward without risk. And, to overcome these roadblocks and these road humps, you've got to believe in yourself, and others will believe in you. And that's my 2 cents. There you go.
That's here. That's well said.
I like that. That's really good. Now, Tony A, you're up.
Yeah, I read something from Confucius once. It says, if you're depressed, you're living in the past. If you're anxious, you're living in the future. You need to live in the now. And, feel who you are, go forward, and be comfortable with yourself. That's what I would say.
That's nice.
I like it. That's profound.
Yeah.
That's nice.
Where have you been hiding, Tony A?
This isn't material we cover.
Maybe it should be.
Right.
Maybe we should go that way. Kimberly, you have anything else to add? I know you haven't spoken tonight, but do you have a couple cents to share with our audience tonight?
Well, I just think that it's important to make sure that you know that life is short and do everything that you can do while you are here on this planet. Get out of your own way. That's so unbelievably important. Talk to someone, get some help, convince yourself that you can do and be whatever you want to be and make things happen. You know, do your thing.
Well said.
Well said. Great group of people tonight, guys. You were listening to Perspectives here with me, Ashley Burgess, and I want you to jump the hump. You know what? You're good enough. Be you. Don't let the grass is greener get to you. And guess what? There'll be a new show next week for you to hear. So, Perspectives with Ashley Burgess will be back in 3 shakes.